Welcome to another episode Beyond Perception. My name is Simon, and I'm very excited to welcome Kathy Park as my guest today for the second conversation. Welcome, Kathy.
Hello. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for inviting me again. It's great to be here.
And likewise, I'm very excited. We have a very interesting keyword today. But just for those of our listeners who don't know you yet, a bit of context. You are a practitioner of Zen for more than 20 years, a Dharma master, teacher, as well as coordinator of Kwan Um Zen Online. And please correct me if I didn't pronounce that right, where it's about bringing online Zen teaching and support practitioners worldwide. So it's my pleasure to be here today with you. Thank you for joining this conversation.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
So the keyword is leadership. And there's many proposals in our society about what leadership could be. It's a term, as you mentioned in our conversation just before we started recording, used in business and government and many parts of our society, not so much in spirituality, possibly. So what's your thinking about leadership, or why did you propose the term for our conversation to explore it together?
Leadership came to my mind as something I wanted to talk with you about because actually, as you mentioned, it's not something that we talk a lot about in spirituality or religion. Of course, leadership is important in any aspect of life. And precisely for that reason, I am personally interested in what leadership truly means for each of us, both as a Zen practicing Buddhist, but also as an individual on this planet, right? So, I mean, the world we're living in right now is kind of, I don't think it's an exaggeration if we say it's heightened vulnerability and uncertainty, right? Because we have very fast emerging technologies that we don't really understand, but are kind of forced to adapt to. So they have these wonderful aspects that are, groundbreaking and, amazing for us. But on the other hand, there are also a lot of things that are unknown in terms of how they will affect our life, how they affect our way of thinking, our brain, how we can raise our children, safely through these drastic transitions on the planet, on top of which we have the climate crisis that seem to affect everybody, wherever you are in the world, in all aspects of life. So for me, as a Zen teacher and also practitioner, I find that leadership itself is not just for the people who are at the top of the spectrum, who should be leading us, although that is very important, who they are and how they lead us in society and in communities. But I believe true leadership resides in each one of us. If you go and make sure you do your civic duty and vote for your country's embarking on an act of leadership because you take responsibility. So for me, leadership is really about completely being accountable to yourself, completely taking on whatever responsibility we each individually can, no matter where we are in station in life, no matter our profession, no matter our jobs or roles, whether you're a parent or a teacher or a doctor or you clean houses, or it doesn't really matter whether we are in the working level and the bottom of the company, or we're the CEO of the company. It doesn't really matter, because I think true leadership is about how you actually take on your role fully with responsibility. And that is the place of, I believe, our practice right now, our spiritual practice. So that's why I wanted to bring this topic up.
It's super interesting, and thank you very much for the context already. So when I thought or contemplated what's leadership, and to me, leadership implies that there is an intention, a vision, or a motive to lead towards. And what I understand from what you are sharing, it is about an attitude, no matter where you are, on how you show up You mentioned taking responsibility, so not blaming it on the circumstances or what's happening to you, but no matter where you're up to, in a way, step up. And what would you say? What would you propose as an intention or a motive to lead towards? Like, why to take self-responsibility, for example?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, so what comes to my mind is more of a question, or I would say a couple of questions. So I believe that we can answer that question you just posed to us. What is our goal? What is the intention or the drive for that? For being a leader, or to step up and get onto that stage or get onto that role, that can lead and help other people, right? And for me, it's a couple of questions. One is, first of all, why is leadership important for you? Why is it important for anyone? Because we're all free. We're all free to do whatever we want in this world, right? And yet, what is our hindrance? What stops us? So in Buddhist teaching, everybody comes into this world with some kind of karma, we say, habitual tendency. One way you might call it is your innate software, right? So you might Simon, you've come into this world, as a German person. I've come into this world as a Korean. But then I was born in Turkey, and then I was educated in the West. So I'm a completely different person from ordinary Koreans who've been, born and bred and educated in Korea. So everyone's karma is different. Our habitual tendency in the way we think, speak, and act and function are all different. Everyone is different. And yet, in those differences, there are many hindrances that each of us have. Individually and collectively, even as a society, right? So being Korean people have Korean karma. Germans have German karma, right? Or in a bigger way, Europeans have European karma, right? North Americans have North American karma. So there are many layers of our software, the way we condition ourselves, the way we think, the way we feel even, and the way we react or interact with the relative world, that are informed by those conditions. And I believe that leadership is important because, again, why is leadership important to each of us? And what are the virtues? Do each one of us, for the listeners out there, do each one of us believe are important for each of us to serve as a leader of anything? So I speak from a Zen practicing person's perspective, and my experience is that the most important thing is to ask our own selves, what am I? What am I doing just now? And what's my direction? So in Buddhist teaching, it's not about finding the answer that's important or the goal. Let's say, what I want to achieve, so to speak. It's more important to have that inquiry, that questioning mind. And when that questioning mind inside is always alive, is awake, then the answers come in the situations, we encounter. So that's why for each of us, I'm a Zen teacher, and I was recently given the task to organize the administration for the online Kwan Um Online Sangha. And, in that process, you have to create bylaws, you have to create an organization, you have to do all these paperwork, for the state or federal. There are all these things you have to do. But more importantly is how do I steer the team, the people, to be convinced that this is a good thing to do, the right thing to do. And you got to get people inspired to do things together with you. So I'd like to share a story. It's actually a very classic Buddhist story, and it's the story of Buddha and his first Dharma heir, Mahakasyapa. So one time Buddha was about to give a Dharma talk a public talk in a very open, beautiful space. There were maybe thousands of people sitting there waiting for him to give a talk. And when he came, he sat down and he didn't say anything. He didn't talk. And everybody's waiting, like, what is he going to do? Why is he not talking? Mm-hmm. And somebody offered a beautiful flower called the Ulambara flower. And the flower was in front of the Buddha. And the Buddha didn't say anything, but only held up the flower and showed it to everybody. And at that time, nobody understood the meaning. So everybody was confused. What's he doing? Mm-hmm. But only way in the back, the audience, was this Mahakasyapa, one of Buddha's disciples, who was already an 80-year-old man. He was old, like body-wise, but a young monk. He was not monk for a long time. There were other students who were much older than him. Okay. And in the back, he gave this big smile. Then the Buddha said, "Oh, Mahakasyapa, I give my dharma transmission to you." Then everybody get really shocked. Then what Buddha did was he offered the seat next to him. Then Mahakasyapa walked up front, past all the older monks, the older students, all the, earlier disciples, and then came and sat down next to Buddha. So he was a young monk, as in, younger in the hierarchy of monastic orders, but he already had a very bright, awakened mind. He was already enlightened. Okay. So then Buddha gave this transmission to him, and that's the first transmission of the Dharma. The reason we have monastic orders, the form of the Buddhist institution, is because Mahakasyapa got this transmission in that moment. Okay. So in a way, it's a kind of controversy, right? It's radical. He gave this transmission to someone who nobody would have thought he's the one who should get it, right? So it's a kind of, I would say, example of leadership. So there are two things, when we talk about leadership from a Zen practicing perspective, there are some ways we have to look at, first of all, what is a dysfunctional leadership, or perhaps what's not working. So I don't know if you've heard, but recently, I think one of the Western top military leaders said the world right now is run by nuclear giants and ethical infants.
I have not heard that, but I can relate to that. Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Yeah. There is so much, partisan opposites fighting, social media, also internet. So again, this technology that gives us this incredible freedom is giving us a lot of confused information because everyone can say whatever they want. Whereas historically, it was limited by time and space, sending messages, putting the news out. It took time. Things evolved slower, right? It got faster when the telephone appeared than when, television appeared. And now you get the same amount of information that was from the beginning of time until 2003 every 2 days.
Right.
According to the, what's his name? Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google. So in this world right now that we're living in, we're getting exponential doubling of information or more every day. How can we digest all of that? So human beings become more and more confused. And we are also then, conditioned by algorithms and all kinds of technology to think a certain way. So Zen means becoming completely free. So when we become completely free in our own selves, then correct leadership, I believe, is possible. So dysfunctionality in any organization or even family or relationships, right? Or even spiritual organizations or governments, often we talk about in psychology this response as a human being, which we call empathy, the ability to connect to other people through emotions, right? So there are basically two kinds of empathy. The first kind is called affective or emotional empathy. The second is cognitive empathy. Mm-hmm. I believe it's common knowledge in psychology, right? Mm-hmm. So affective empathy is when you can relate to somebody else's feelings and have feelings yourself of their suffering. If your friend is suffering because their partner died and they're in grief and you connect to that person, then you feel that grief in that person, in your own heart. That's a kind of empathy, right? Mm-hmm. So we feel for each other because we are all connected. The cognitive empathy is when you can actually like mentalize that somebody has some stress or grief or emotional distress, and you can perceive and understand that particular part of their experience, but you don't feel that grief or suffering in yourself. Mm. So depending on how, as individual people, we are in our stations in life and in our roles, we respond to other human beings with or without any of these ability of empathy or connection to other people. It gives us a kind of information as to, so modern psychology, I think, helps us understand that it's helping us see how we can be truthful, honest, or manipulative in human relationships in this world. And so I think this is actually sort of why I have been really interested through practicing and teaching people through Zen that correct relationship, as we say, correct situation, and our correct function out of that is really, really important to train in our human life. And so I believe in an ideal world, anyone who is going to be a leader of any kind needs to have some kind of practice that is self-reflective, a practice that helps people understand who they truly are, a practice that helps them understand what their software is, right? A practice to understand what's happening to me when I'm angry or when I'm fearful, okay? What history do I have? The history of my, not only my physical DNA, but the history of our psychological ancestry, the lineage of our, habits that have come through. Yeah. So we learn a lot through psychology, through different kind of meditations and spirituality, understanding ourselves more and more and more in this world is really important, because there is too much out there that is trying to control the way we think, control the way we live, control even our moment-to-moment decisions. So it's truly about just waking up. It's a topic that I'm, really trying to explore for myself. So that's why I'm sharing it with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very interesting to listen to you. And so what I'm understanding from you, that it's really an invitation to explore one's own orientation or motivation, like where from one then leads. And as you also mentioned, so one could take inspiration, orientation from the outside, from others' ideas or processes or some teachings or opinions of authorities, and then lead by referencing the outside and basically living as a copy to like what someone else told oneself, or one could, as I understand it also from you, and I'm curious to your perspective, to explore one's own connection or inner knowledge or inner knowing, and plug into that and lead from that, instead of, you could say that the underlying motivation to reference oneself with the outside is fear of not having an inner orientation. And that's why I'm staying within the norm, within the box of society, and following what others tell me to do, instead of exploring what is in me, which wants to be expressed, or what I want to dedicate my life towards, and find that as my own answer in that sense. What do you make of those suggestions or ideas?
Actually, what you said, the last thing you said, is really important, because most people are driven by sort of, we're functioning according to our software, which I've said before is our karma, our habitual tendency. A lot of it is subconscious. Most of our habits are subconscious even. We're not consciously aware that the next cigarette you pull up is like, I am now going to take a cigarette. You just do it out of habit, right? Yeah. Whether it's alcohol, drugs, or anything that's habitual. How many times do you scroll your social media throughout the day? It's a habit of the finger, but it's a very clear habit that's run through the, brain function down to our finger, right? So if we are not clear of what we are, then other people control our life. Other people control our decisions. So that's the problem. The dysfunctionality in leadership is when people who have power don't really have leadership skills. So there's a big difference between having power and having leadership. Many people want power in this world. Many people even have it, although perhaps those people should not be in power. We see that around the world. You see the war happening, in the Gaza Strip. We see the war in Ukraine. We see the kind of polarized politics in so many countries, including South Korea. So anything that felt safe before is no longer safe. Human beings don't feel safe. Also, weather patterns are not making us feel safe, because we don't know what the temperature will be tomorrow, how bad the air will be tomorrow, right? So in a way, being a human being right now in this moment requires us to really start becoming more resilient and adaptable to the fast changes that are happening.
So would you say, and I think you said something earlier along the lines of finding back to reality. So one could say the first step of leadership is to lead oneself towards reality.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to see the truth, and the truth of yourself in this situation, the truth of ourselves. That's very hard to do if we do not have a clear way to reflect on ourselves, to really look at ourselves squarely, honestly, truthfully. Very difficult to do.
There's what you said initially, self-responsibility.
Yeah. So so one of the things, if there's anything we can take away today from this talk, is one of the things we can do for ourselves is to always look inside and ask, what is this in this moment? Especially when we, in our mind, have a habit of blaming. Right? So, of course, whenever we read the newspaper, it's like outrage, blah, 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 this person, that, this is no good, that person's a terrible politician. So even before you finish reading the sentence, this commentary or discriminating thought appears very fast for all of us. And media is, of course, feeding it so much more, right? So we have to really practice, I think. This is a good exercise for each of us to look at. When I look at my phone, or I look at the newspaper, or watch CNN, or whatever channel you choose, like, what's the outrage that first appears? What's the feeling that appears? Is it a discomfort? Is it positive? Is it neutral? Become more aware. How does that feel in my body, in my chest, and how does it stay on in my thoughts, right? So we don't understand that throughout the day, we're controlled by these feelings and thoughts that pop up all the time. And as we encounter what you said, the outside situation, the outside circumstances, or the outside information, and if we only engage in that, they control us 24 hours a day.
And
so it's about getting back your host position of the moment. Every moment of your life, are you the host or the guest? So that's true leadership inside. Yeah, that's where it begins.
And one could say that our society is just a reflection of us not being involved, just floating with whatever happens. And that's, is it the cause or the effect? Who knows? But it seems to mirror each other, no? Probably only will ever change if we take responsibility and don't wait for something happening, no? Someone else doing it for us, no? We have to start being the change we want. I don't know who said that. It might have been Gandhi. I don't know. Be the change you want to see, or something along those lines. There's so much truth in that.
A very good example, just last weekend, there was elections in Poland. My husband is Polish, so he went to vote in the embassy. And it was the first time in Polish history where the largest number of people showed up to vote, 75%, which is very big for Poland. And it was a result because a lot of people have had enough. So they decided. So we say in Zen sometimes, bad situation is a good situation. Good situation is a bad situation for practice or to wake up. Okay. Bad situation. They were going to have, a government that was pro-Russian and, taking away a lot of rights for individuals, rights for women, for decisions about their body, etc. So a lot of young people and a lot of women voted. They took responsibility for themselves. That's leadership, right? So the one act, when it's very clear, it can move mountains. But if we don't really reflect on that, and then we leave a vacuum of apathy, and that's when people who are hungry for power will manipulate the circumstances. So that's why actually in basic Buddhist teaching, the most important thing is to wake up. Yeah. So the name Buddha in Sanskrit means awakened one. It doesn't mean we're special, but it means we have to wake up. And right now we have to be engaged. Whether you're a Zen student or a Vipassana student, or you're in any kind of religion or faith, it doesn't matter. We have to be engaged, which means our spiritual journey or our inquiry into our life, contemplative life, or seeking of our own truth or our purpose in life, it has to really show us that it matters in our day-to-day life in the world. So that's
and
a point that I want to share right now, is that we have to be, it's not about just, Zen is not about just being very peaceful and just sitting in the mountain in a hermitage where everything is perfect. Nothing is perfect in this world. Everything is a burning house if we really look closely.
So that's actually what I also wanted to speak with you about from an absolute perspective. Everything is perfect and there is nothing to do. I think that's one aspect. On the other side, on the relative aspect, that can also easily be used as an excuse to not take responsibility and to not engage in a way. And on the other hand, it seems to contradict that there is nothing to do. What do you make out of this seeming paradox?
Yeah. So everything is perfect. Everything is empty. So ethics is empty. Your name is Simon, but actually you don't exist. I don't exist either. And in fact, nothing is changing in the universe. Okay.
Yeah.
But why don't you pinch yourself right now, your arm? Can you do that for me, Simon?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, pinch it hard.
Yeah.
Ow.
Okay.
Does it
Ow.
hurt? Yeah.
Yes.
And yet, it hurts when you pinch yourself. Yes?
It does.
So, yeah. So this life, this relative world life that we're living in right now, Buddha said it's a dream. Because actually, if you look from the cosmic universe picture, nothing's really happening. In the absolute world, yes. Then nothing's really happening. Yet you pinch yourself, ow, pain, suffering. Not only that, you see others suffering, dying, fighting and dying and killing each other. Yeah. So in this dreamlike world, we still have a job to do because we have to wake everybody else up. So it's not that everything is peaceful, nothing's happening, everything is empty, and that's Zen. That's only one aspect. One more step necessary. You have to perceive it's like it's not nothing to do. That part is a mistake in people's minds often. So we say attain emptiness. That means in that place, in that experience of where you don't have any separation from others, where you are one with others, where you are one with the universe. Okay. Then that's great love, great compassion, great ethics, great clarity, great wisdom appear naturally, great correct function, bodhisattva function that helps all beings appears naturally. In that place, you don't have to have the edicts of ethics or rules. It's already functioning because it's already perfect. Our true nature is perfect and functioning. But if we're not abiding in that quality all the time, which we are not, then ethics are necessary, precepts are necessary, guidelines are necessary, right? Governance, accountability, all those things are necessary, almost as a fallback to help us, okay? But in between that space is our practice, this question. What are you doing right now? Are you awake or not? Because we can be awake in one moment, but very easy to fall asleep again. Very easy to fall back to, no, I don't like this, I like that. I hate this place, I don't like this, right? This kind of opposites our karma. Yeah. So we say strong dharma, as in strong practice, or strong karma. If you have a strong dharma practice, you can keep this karma, so-called our like and dislike, our opposites mind in check. Then this also gets a little stronger, then more practice necessary, right? So spiritual life is a constant tension of the attaining of that absolute, and then how that works for us in the relative truth world. And only by using it in the relative truth world, only by facing our karma, facing our difficulties, right? Facing the challenges that appear, can we carry on the teachings, the experiences, and the wisdom so that it starts to help others as well. So in Buddhism, we call that a lineage, okay? A transmission of wisdom down, generations. So it's a kind of, so lineage is also a kind of leadership. And we have the lineage of clarity and wisdom and the teaching of truth. But, because we're human, we also have a lineage of our karma. You can carry on bad habits too, right? We get it from our parents, we get it from our teachers, even our spiritual teachers, right? But it's up to us then. So leadership means Are you clear about that to yourself too? And having the courage to clarify that for ourselves, for the next generation. Okay. So we have a saying in Zen, if your dharma, as in your teaching, your attainment is the same as your teachers, then you are not eligible for the transmission. If your dharma, your teaching transcends your teachers, then you're ready for transmission. So it means with each transmission of wisdom, the wisdom is deeper, the wisdom is wider, the wisdom is adaptable to the new conditions.
Not just copy paste.
No, doesn't work that way.
So not just outside reference.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, now the copy paste situation is Chat GPT can do it for you better.
It is.
If you say, if you ask Chat GPT, write a Dharma talk like Maizumi Roshi style, it'll write a better version than you could possibly think of. Okay. But that's not yours. So for those of us who are spiritual teachers, this is a very big koan. It's a very big koan. A period of big koans appearing for everybody, not just spiritual, but educators, politicians, anyone. Because how are we going to be genuinely convincing? How are we authentic? If technology can mimic our sermons, our talks, and, you know, if it's not yours, what is it that you can actually deliver to help others truly? Yeah, that doesn't come from AI. AI can do its job to a certain extent, but, you know, maybe some of us will be out of a job. So very important, we have to wake up, see clearly, hear clearly, attain clearly the truth, and then find our true purpose, our true gift.
Because you mentioned it, I think 1 or 2 times, this transmission happening. Is this the limitation of AI? AI can come up with nice texts, beautiful words, etc., but it cannot transmit the motivation behind, or that invitation, or that understanding or recognition of the reality beyond. Or how do you see that, or what would you say is that what AI possibly can do better than each one of us, but still is lacking? Or
so AI is based on language. Yeah. So if you only depend on language, then AI will beat you to everything. So only based on language, as in linear language, linear thinking, binary terms, this will this is by itself can become very high class. So for us as human beings, we have to really understand what is mind to mind. We say mind to mind transmission. So between the moment, you know, we're communicating with words, but what is it that's being transmitted? It's not the words themselves. What is the mind to mind? So if I ask you, you know, why are you born, Simon?
Why am I born? Yeah, I have no clue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So AI can give you 10,000 better answers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it won't be yours. Even if you generated those answers, and you can read it and go around carrying it around and reading it, but it's not yours. So you have to attain it. It's got to be yours. You will, as we say, know, but it means your don't know will function. And the answers, you are the answer. And nobody can take that away. Not AI, not, you know, another person or another entity. Nothing can take away what's your own experience, right? That no technology can actually replace. Yeah. But we are investing a lot of our experiences inside the device right now. So that's something we have to look at.
So just out of curiosity, when you're organizing your online platform or events and gatherings, like where's your, did you like come up with a guideline on to what extent you're using technology and like to what extent you don't?
So technology for this kind of like Zen training is a tool. And in a way, we're trying to use poison to take away the poison. So there's a lot of addiction of devices attaching to scrolling, internet searches, which are obviously there's a lot of extensive study in neuroscience and in medical science about the bad side effects of those things on our brain, but also on our general well-being and our health, even our physical health. So in our Zen training, we can use the device to enhance your meditation experience and also the connection with a teacher or a community to support you. It's not a replacement of going to a Zen center or meditating with a group physically, right? Or doing a retreat with others. That's very important and valuable if you can, right? But after that retreat, until you do the next one, what are you doing? What is your practice? Yeah. How awake are you truly? And so our job with online Sangha is to Zen practitioners continue a consistent practice and being in touch in their daily life with the training so it's alive continuously as much as possible. We also reach people who are having conditions that doesn't make it possible for them to go to a Zen center. They live too far away. They are single parents or their job doesn't allow them to go to a center, even if it's nearby. And proportionally, there are a lot more people who cannot do that than the actual people who can go to a local Zen center, right? It's almost like you're able to go for a 3-month retreat. That's like an elite group of people. It's not the masses, right? But in this world, more and more people, as much as possible, although human beings have to wake up in this burning house. So our job is to reach as many as possible. But mind-to-mind transmission, like mind-to-mind connection, mind-to-mind waking up, that's possible, okay? That's not the same thing as the condition for allowing your practice to be stronger. So meditation in a group or in person or a retreat is important, but that's not the same thing as waking up in this moment. That you can do without having to be in a dharma room. Buddha didn't sit in a temple. He was sitting under a Bodhi tree. In the Zen tradition, the famous sixth ancestor, Huineng, he never meditated in his life. He was illiterate. He was a layman who had only one job, take care of his elderly mother, and all day long go to the mountain, cut firewood, carry it down to the village, sell the firewood, get a little money, bring it home, cook meals for his mother, eat it, the next morning go get firewood again. That was his life. He was a very simple, ordinary person. He didn't have much thinking. Then one day, he's walking by, hears a monk chanting from a nearby temple, the Diamond Sutra. And he hears in the chant this one phrase, don't attach to anything which arises in your mind. He hears this one phrase and then get big enlightenment. After that, he had to leave his mother and go and find out, what did I get? So he goes and finds the fifth patriarch who becomes his teacher, verifies that he attained something. Then he began his life as a Dharma person. So that's an example in Zen history where he didn't have to sit meditation retreats for years and years and years before he got that. Okay. So, but our practice is really important. Our practice is important because as we continue and meditate and return to that experience or that moment of awakening, the clearer we become and we can transform our karma, our habitual tendency. Yeah. So in a nutshell, true leadership is transforming oneself. Then we understand more clearly how to be available and useful for all beings. So that's at the heart of it.
Nothing to object to. And maybe just out of curiosity, I think you also mentioned initially there's a leadership for oneself, and you just said to transform oneself, and then you could also say there's a leadership in terms of leading other people, or a leadership role in society, or in our surrounding. And what would you make there? Is there a distinction? And I think before you said the requirement for leadership is freedom, or realizing freedom. Like, is there a distinction between between leadership for oneself and then leading other people? How do you see that? What makes a difference, if there's a difference?
Yes, it's a very good question. Thank you, Simon. So the most important thing for an individual, for oneself, is to really have clarity, have clear mind. So of clear self-inquiry, right? Clear self-reflection. And on the basis of that, there will be a foundation of love and compassion that is at the heart of our ability as individuals to function in daily life and to connect with others, not just humans, but our surroundings. If one has that, then that love and compassion is the foundation for an ability to be a leader for others. If that foundation is off, as in we are psychologically, emotionally dysfunctional, or we have issues around our own ability to connect with other people, it could be that we may have, mental or emotional disabilities, right? Or some difficulties around how we connect with others. If we don't work on those things for ourselves, it's very hard to be a functional leader for others. And many people, as I said earlier, want power, but they are not striving for leadership.
Or
so that's why
pardon.
Go ahead.
They might think they are doing leadership, while the foundation of, I think you said, love and compassion is not there. And so
because
they might believe they're doing leadership, and
exactly,
they have some leadership skills, but not the self-reflectiveness to realize that maybe they're coming from lack and not really a place of love and compassion.
Yeah. So a place of love and compassion means that you believe in leadership as being a servant to others, that your role is to serve others. That's very important. Our role is to serve other people. And a good leader is someone who inspires others to do the same. And a good leader is someone who gets inspired themselves by humility. Those are the markers we can try to use for ourselves, right? And like, what inspires you when you hear the story of individual people in the world? Like, what draws you to their endeavor? What draws you to what they do, right? When we listen to speakers, when we listen to politicians, who do you vote for? Do you vote for somebody who makes you feel like, you have to be loyal? What kind of qualities do leaders in the world inspire you? And then you can understand how that functions for you. So if each of us is clearer ourselves, then we are actually helping society to find clearer leaders to help this world, right? So often we say a teacher appears when the student is ready. It's not the other way around. So when a student is ready, the right teacher appears. It's the same thing. If a person is ready, a good leader can appear. If we're ignorance bound, we don't pay attention, we don't educate ourselves and we become apathetic as a community, then that kind of leader appears for us. So you see it in the world right now. There are many people who have power in various parts of the world, but they're not the good leaders, I would say, right?
Maybe as a last question, I think we are close to what we agreed on as a time, though. You're a teacher. You're, from what I understand, responsible for this online community. So you are a leader. Is that how you see yourself, or what do you think? What's your personal experience in leading yourself, but also you seemingly seem to lead other people?
I personally find that my mission is to create an environment of safety for our practitioners, a place where people feel no one is rejected, everyone is included, no one's left behind. That's my mission. So whether that's a leader's job or just a worker's job, who knows? I don't mind, cleaning the floors and washing the dishes, because I think that keeps me humble.
Okay, though I have to object here, because you said before a leader, its role is to serve. That you seem to qualify.
Thank you. At least I'll have a job still.
A foundation of love and compassion. That seems also to come through what you're just sharing as an intention. So
yeah. Well, I have to say that before, this is a learning process for me too. I'm still a student. When I had a habit. I still do sometimes. I have a habit of caring for everybody else and putting myself last. It's one of those kind of, we say, Zen sicknesses. Too much desire to help other people and then forget how to take care of yourself. When I do that, I don't do a good job. So, a great Korean Zen master from the 7th century, Won Hyo, said, helping oneself and helping others are two wings of one bird. Okay. So you don't help yourself, you can't help others.
So then also by taking individual leadership and gaining clarity
of your own life,
oneself, one is helping anyone, everybody already, right?
Yeah. And in the end, if you do that in a community, you become an example of that kind of clarity and leadership for others. Yeah. If you are somebody who leads a community and you don't take care of yourself, you get a lot of people who also don't take care of themselves. Then you end up transmitting a lot of problems that come out of that kind of unhealthy behavior. It happens all the time, right? In families and also organizations and communities. So that's why waking up is important. Becoming clear is important. Yeah. Understanding ourselves and understanding our true nature, our true potential, which is beyond all those habits. Not just understanding ourselves isn't just about understanding our habits or karma. That's one part. It's when you realize beyond all of that, you have an incredible, unlimited potential to transform. Yeah. That's very important. Yeah. That's Buddha. Okay. So hope that was helpful.
That was a very interesting conversation. Yeah, thank you very much. I loved what you shared. Was very interesting and a very good invitation to contemplate. But I also loved the spirit of how you shared it. With
Thank you.
Sense of curiosity and a joy to explore this together. So very much appreciated. I think this was a very round conversation.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate you listening and willing to, have your audience listen to what I had to say. It's very humbling. Thank you.
I thank you. And to everybody who is listening now and watching this, I will gladly link the webpage to your online community and whatever other resources you want to publish with this conversation so that everybody can learn more about you and your organization. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time. I wish you all the best and look forward to the future, maybe another conversation with another keyword.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
See you next time. Goodbye, everyone. All the best and take care. See you soon.